Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
Oh, there, we're live. We're live.
We're live.
We're live, baby.
We're live.
Yo, I was about to get real mad if we weren't live because I needed the juice.
I needed
the juice of feeling live. You know what I mean?
The boy needs
like
the
it matters.
juice. Yo, thank you, everybody.
matters.
So sorry for the technical difficulties, everybody. Hopefully we're live and you're hearing this.
Go figure.
We heard you, folks. We heard you. Sorry again for the delay here, but we heard you. You said
You guys demanded.
you were in our DMs. You were on the tweeters. You were doing the Instagrams. You said you guys got to do the lives. The lives are better. So my boy, Slick Mick the Ruler, the CEO of the RNC, the master of punks, the tamer of sages, standing 6'3", 200 pounds, and every one of them is a problem. You took the drive all the way back from Naples, Florida at 1 o'clock in the morning last night after the Super Bowl to do your rehab this morning at 7 o'clock in the morning.
It's called PT. Rehab insinuates that I might have a problem.
So you did your outpatient rehab this morning at 7 o'clock.
I think, well, yeah. No,
Just-
it was PT. It was PT.
just-
I don't have a meth problem, bro.
Just
Stop
to
saying
be
that.
live. You are the people's champ. And if you did have a
I'm
meth
here.
problem, they love you so much. And they thank you so much for making
keeps
this
me
effort
slender, you know,
on
I
their
gotta
behalf. Is that
stay
what it is?
methin'.
Is that what it is?
I don't know, man. I never get to try it.
Me and Chris Farley, probably the only two guys that ever had a coke addiction and got fatter from it. I bet you if I did meth, I'd be 400 pounds. I don't know. It would just give me the energy to stay up and keep eating.
And that guy's voice is G to the E to the R-A-R-D. Boy, you crazy to the G to the E to the R-A-D-R.
I like it.
Yeah.
Thicky Smalls, Gerard Michaels in the house.
Smalls.
Slick and Thick is back.
Dickie Smalls and Mickey Gall, the millionaire, the mansion, the yacht.
The 2 wheat spots, the crack pot. Yeah, I got 7 mac and cheeses.
Stop
about
trying to give me
8
a drug
Kool-Aid
problem.
grapes.
It was 2 hot Glocks. Why you giving me a crack pot?
I got 7 mac and cheeses, about 8 Kool-Aid grapes, 9 pies, 10. That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
That's a tough rhyme.
10 biscottis. I don't know.
Yeah.
Speaking
Whatever.
of biscotti,
Yo, we're fucking live, bro.
shout out to Fred, Tay, your whole family. What an amazing spread, first-class spread they put together for the Super Bowl.
Played some bocce.
And how about the cry, Eagles cry?
Yeah.
Throwing
cry.
it away. Throwing it away.
Man, it kind of felt like a victory. I
It's-
gotta say, as a Giants fan, it kind of felt like
After
a victory
10
last
years
night.
of Giants
My man.
losses, I might almost enjoy watching Philly lose more than I
It's
like
nice.
the Giants win.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I liked about the whole thing, by the way. I hated everything else about the Super Bowl. I was grumpy old man the whole way through.
Yeah, you were, bro.
Didn't like anything about it. It was so poorly produced the whole way through. First of all, the thing was what, 8 hours? What
Yeah,
time
something
the
like that.
game started? 2? We got out of there at 1.
Yeah.
I mean, and the one that put me over the edge was the Apple commercial. Halfway through the Super Bowl, it goes, "The wait is almost over."
The wait is almost over.
Rihanna's.
We're all here for
I said,
Rihanna.
turn it off.
The fuck?
Turn it off. And then Rihanna comes out looking 8 months deep into into popping out another cum trophy. And is this ASAP's or what?
I hope so.
Is this ASAP Deuce?
I bet so.
What's
I don't
with,
know, man. No one even knew she was pregnant, right?
What's with the lip
was all the
syncing?
rage.
Why would you lip sync?
Well, I think they've tried, and there's been fucked upness when they've done actual live performances, you know? So I think they just are like, you know what? Let's just make it a good show. Like, let's just make sure of it.
And have a pregnant woman waddle around while she gets dry humped by 40 guys.
I mean, the intention was to make it a good show, but it don't always work out like that, you know?
Oof. Hey, listen. All right. I don't want to be a hater, but
Gerard hates
but
pregnant
I
women.
hated it.
I don't want to be a hater.
Hated it from the Black National Anthem, which, by the way, guys, can we admit that was maybe a bit of an overcorrection, bit of a misstep? You know, can we not have 17 different cultural, national anthems by Super Bowl 60? We're gonna have to start this thing at midnight the night before, and the Ukraine national anthem, and the Spanish national anthem, and the Indigenous national anthem, and the LGBTQ plus national anthem.
That's next year.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, guys, one nation, all right? This whole separate but equal thing was
It's a
tried.
fucking football game. It's a war game.
Just
have some fun.
It's a football game for everybody who hates football. The Super Bowl, to me, is the female version of Ghostbusters. Every year it gets worse and worse. And it's just like they
It's like so the Super Bowl is when everyone watches football who doesn't watch football.
Yeah, and they try to serve everybody, and by trying to serve everybody, they fulfill nobody. Women were bored. Men who watch football all the time were like, "This is trash." Men who don't watch football all the time aren't, even if they were cheering for the inclusivity, they're not watching football next year.
Look, I'm gonna actually talk a little football. So Jalen Hurts, who gets benched while he's in college in the middle of the national championship game.
For Tua,
sure. I'd take Hurts over Tua any day.
Yeah, it looks like it.
You know what I mean? But like the just the fact that he didn't get kept down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He you know, it was
persevered.
He persevered. The perseverance of him to get benched, keep his head high, be a good teammate. Mm-hmm. Then next year he's benched, he goes to a different school, gets drafted, and now
Second round.
Yeah, like he should have been a first rounder with the way he's playing.
Sure.
And he's a stud. And now it's coming from a Giant fan.
Yep.
Who wants nothing good for the Eagles or Cowboys ever.
Yeah.
But you got to put some respect on his name. Respect to Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That is what we in the industry call a pivot. And that was well done. That's Slick Mick the Ruler with a pivot right there.
Yeah, I was tired of the
But again,
I was like, Gerard's gonna rail for a half hour on this.
Here we go. Yeah, but Jalen Hurts. But again, like, okay, now here I'll take the negative Nancy side of that.
Oh, go figure. Really?
When you're a second round draft pick, it's basically a cheat code. If you can play a little bit, if you're a second round draft pick quarterback, it's a cheat code because you're getting paid such little money that everybody around you
can get more.
Yeah, and you're getting surrounded by beasts. Which is, again, I used to talk about this with Eli Manning back in the day, when every time he was up for a new contract, he reset the entire quarterback market. All right, and I just didn't understand why. It's like, Eli, you're making $100 million in Dunkin' Donuts commercials. Like, take a little less money under the salary cap. I would never tell anybody to take less money.
Right.
But take less money under the salary cap, surround yourself with a stud wide receiver, get yourself a left tackle, and go win another ring. That's going to be worth way more to you. To me, it's kind of a Daniel Jones thing right now. Like, Daniel Jones could go get $40+ million in the open market. Absolutely. Yeah. There's 11 teams that he can go get, bidding for. But that means that, are you going to be able to pay Andrew Thomas? Are you going to be able to pay the right tackle? And then are you going to have any defense at all? And after this Super Bowl, does defense even matter? Do you just have to go all in on one side of the ball, which this is what seems like the NFL's doing. All in on offense and just outscore.
Here comes another little Mickey pivot.
One more time. Ooh, that PT's working.
Pivot.
You couldn't have done that a month ago.
I know, shit. I would have been, fuck. All right, but here's another Mickey pivot. So Trump said the Rihanna halftime show was garbage, and Joe Rogan said Volk won that fight. And then the next day, I wonder if that sways the opinions more than, you know what I mean? Then are people thinking this, and then they see it, and they're like, "Oh, this means it's true. Like, this validates it," or did everyone share this opinion? But I think a little bit of the former. You know what I mean? Like, I think people are very influenced.
Trump talked shit about Rihanna before she even stepped on stage, which is just trash because she did the whole fuck Trump thing. And that's why Trump's trash, bro. Like, there's, again, and we can talk about things he did that I liked with foreign policy and certain things, but like at the end of the day, people would
think you like Trump.
Which is great. Which it just goes to show they want you in one camp or the other.
But you don't like him because he's very divisive. And
no,
like
there's things that he did. He's not presidential.
Okay.
And it's been a long time since we've had somebody that was presidential. I do think he exposed a lot of the warts in our system. And I think that was very good. But he didn't have the wherewithal to then cure those ailments. He was just like, I told you this is
he could
corrupt.
Identify the issue, but then couldn't solve it.
Very Bernie Sanders-y. Very like a Bernie Sanders, one of the guys I considered,
But you like his foreign policy. Trump.
I thought because he understands. He understands them. He does business abroad. He understands them. He knows again, when really smart people do really dumb things over and over again, you have to make one of two decisions. You have to either say, wow, they're not as smart as I thought they were, or they're doing this dumb shit on purpose. And what Trump exposed is that whether you want to call it a deep state or the globalists or whatever you want to call it, they are doing these things on purpose. They're using these places for endless warfare to make billions and billions of dollars. They're using things like the Paris Accord and the WHO to funnel huge amounts of money.
What's the Paris Accord?
Paris Accord is a climate. It's a climate accord, the Paris Climate Accord, and it's this idea that everybody
got to do with weather.
Yeah, it's very hard for me to surmise without going into like a whole Gerard episode here. But it's a non-government organization that governments, activists.
You hate non-government organizations.
I do. I hate NGOs. NGOs are probably the greatest threat to the individual autonomy in the world today, for sure.
Okay.
That's really, really super rich and powerful people across the globe decided to use their power and influence to govern as opposed to actually having to run for office and use the democratic process and be beholden to a citizen. Like, us plebeians have no say over what the World Economic Forum or the World Health Organization or any of these, really super hyper powerful NGOs say. They're run as companies. We have no more say over them. We actually have less say than we would over Apple or somebody where we can at least buy shares of it and go to a shareholders meeting and talk to these people.
Right.
These guys are just multi-billionaires who get in a room and say, this is the way the world should be, and let's use our power and influence to buy the elections and buy cabinets and make the world in our image. And that's kind of what they're doing. And what the Paris Accord is, this agreement between nations, I'm really going to get killed if by every time I miss something.
Don't worry, no one knows what it is, so it's
no,
okay.
But then the people on the left, they love being like, no, this guy's so full of shit. And they'll take like one thing I said semantically incorrect and like use it as like they're like fact checkers. They're real life Facebook fact checkers, right? Where you're like, these people over here, are covering up the chemical spill in Ohio, and it's like, well, nobody's covering up the chemical spill, and really, do we know that they're people? It's like, we're going to determine it's false until we can determine that these are people and not AI. It's bullshit. So anyway, Paris Accord, long story short, it's basically Agenda 2030. All these countries get together and they say, we're going to be zero emissions by 2030, and this is how much money we're going to put into investing into green and renewable energy, blah, 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 blah. And it's just a giant slush fund. They take taxpayer money and they take billions of it, put it into the Paris Accord. They're just like the Ukraine. There's never any accounting, never any audit on what the money goes. And then what we saw with FTX was, well, a lot of that money was funneling back to the Democratic Party. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
To the Ukraine and then to the Democratic
Crazy.
Party. Right?
Yeah. It's 50 million going from Sam Bankman-Fried. Crazy, huh? So 60 billion goes this way, 50 million goes that way, and then who knows what happens in between. Trump took us out of the Paris Accord. Trump took us out of the WHO. He took us out of these NGOs. He told NATO, you got to pay your bills. And that was the moment. That was the moment when the entire world, the globalists, and unfortunately with the help of the CIA, probably, were like, all right, this guy's got to go.
Yeah, and that's why they kept in lockdown so that we couldn't vote for him.
Probably, yeah. And at the very least, they allowed people to vote for him, but then they knew exactly how many votes they had to find.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Whole lot of mail-in votes. Don't forget, Trump is the very first president to get more votes in his re-election campaign than his election campaign and lose. And Joe Biden, who you don't know a single person happy.
Who's the best possible presidential candidate in your eyes? Who'd be the best at running this bitch?
I think DeSantis would do a good job.
Yeah,
I think Thomas Massey.
I don't know who that is.
Would do a good job, but the problem is that like
Who's
he's
Thomas
a bad.
Massey?
Thomas Massey is a very good congressman.
Where
is Massey from? Is he Nebraska? Is he Nebraska Massey? He was one of the very first people stood up against Trump, and he's a Republican as well. And he stood up against Trump and was like, "This Operation Warp Speed is not what we want. You don't want to rush medications
more than Democrats."
I think currently there's definitely half of the Republican Party are globalists the same way the Democratic Party is. I don't see outside of. There's no real moderates left in the Democratic Party.
Are globalists and like NGOs kind of intertwined?
100% intertwined.
Okay.
100%. And really that becomes my problem with the modern Democratic Party is they really don't give a shit about the citizen. they'll use a black guy, they'll use a black face, and like they'll take the pain of a black guy getting beat to death and run that as interference and a Trojan horse for their policies. I mean, it's the greatest con of the two greatest cons of our life so far are college education, greatest con of all time. Getting people to sign up for their own slavery. It's insane. Getting people to, become their own indentured servant is one of the greatest cons of all time. And the second greatest con is the idea that social justice reform is done through big government.
How do we get here, G? What would our founding fathers be thinking right now? They'd be rolling in their graves.
Jalen Hurts is wondering how we got here right now.
What do you mean?
We were having a happy little Monday, and now we're into social justice. But
it's just like inevitable with you. I think. I think it's like we might as well just fucking get it out of the way. Might as well just fucking
you were having such a great day, bro. You were having such a great day.
I wasn't. Yeah, and then I come in here for you guys, for G to ruin my fucking day. So tell me, where are they spinning in the graves in their tights and wigs? Or what?
For sure. For sure.
Because they didn't want this, right?
No. Matter of fact, they literally sacrificed their entire life to fight this sort of globalism. They believed in the individual and localism, right?
Right.
And just to complete the previous thought about what I'm talking about, this is the whole thing where Colin Kaepernick lost me almost immediately. Because there were some things Colin Kaepernick said where when he first said them, I'm like, the guy's got a point. I may not like what he's doing. What I didn't like about Kaepernick in the beginning was he's being clearly...
He was black, and that's true.
Well, he's Mexican mostly and raised by a white family, but that's not here or there.
Is that true?
Yes. Affluent white family also, which is all communism comes from affluence. It's a rich kid's vanity.
Right.
Che Guevara, sons of doctors, rich kid. Mao, rich kid. It's communism is attractive to guilty rich kids and hyper poor people that don't have any other options. And the hyper and the guilty rich kids get the poor people to turn on the middle class. That's kind of the way it always goes. See, that's your real enemy. He's got more than you. He's the wealthy. Well, aren't you the wealthy? No, I'm the good guy. That's the bad guy. That's the good guy, right? Like AOC, tax the rich. Aren't you the rich? Bitch, you rich as hell. Aren't you the rich? No. The billionaires. Those are the bad guys.
Those guys.
Yeah. But anyway, where like Kaepernick lost me was, when he started, doing the whole communist thing, socialist thing. He was, pro Fidel Castro. And I'm sitting here going, so you're anti-police brutality, but pro-government. What do you think the police is, brother?
Yeah.
It wasn't an Apple employee that was out there kneeling on somebody. It wasn't the owner of a Foot Locker who was out there beating anybody up in the streets. It's the government. So the whole time, everybody's marching, and it's like, all right, we need police reform. And I'm like, okay, I'm listening. And how do we get that? By giving the government more power and money. Say what now? That's the government. You understand the police are the government. Do you not understand that? Yeah. So these people are they're very confused. And I think, where the right and my people, the libertarians, really fuck up is in messaging. Because immediately what we want to do is be like, you idiots don't understand. And then that's not how you convert anybody. Where there should be hey, you're so close. You're halfway there. You're so close. We do need reform. But the reform is the government. The government's the problem, right? Like that's the problem. And the problem, if the government's the problem, giving the government more power and more money is not how you solve the problem, right? If you have a cancer, making the cancer more powerful is not how you cure the cancer.
Yeah.
So, you want to talk about the founding fathers. I mean, do you understand? You talked about the guys being in wigs and tights, right?
Yeah.
It's funny that like that's how we think of them. Sure. We think of them as like these little poofs.
Yeah.
These goofballs in their wigs prancing about.
Yeah.
Dude, these were
rolled up in capris.
These were the baddest motherfuckers to ever walk planet Earth.
Founding fathers, baddest motherfuckers.
Baddest motherfuckers to ever walk planet Earth.
Why do you say that?
Well, you got to understand what the stakes were, brother. Like, the British Empire was it was everything. The British Empire took over the world.
Right.
Like, it owned everything. It owned shipping. You couldn't do business. Like, the word fuck, fornication under consent of the king. Like, you needed the king's consent to bang away, bro. Like, they told it would be no different than America today. It would be no different than Florida going, you know what, America? We're good. We got this. Take your taxes, shove it. You know how many people were, like, there's this idea when we talk about revolution and we teach the history of this in America that, like, everybody was on board. Everybody knew that royalty was bad. Like, this form of government had not been tried in 2,000 years, Mickey. We did not have democracy in any form, representative or otherwise.
2,000 years ago. What was the democracy 2,000
the Roman Republic?
Okay.
Which Caesar ended?
Right. So it was pre-Julius Caesar.
Julius Caesar ended democracy for all intents and purposes.
2,000 years.
Look, you could say that there were tribal leaders and that there was forms of democracy and that Germanic, there was representative government for these Germanic tribals and fine. We can get into the nuance of it, but for all intents and purposes, in the world, right? Because Asia had the Han Dynasty, and that was they were. What would it be? Monarchical? How would you consider?
Monarchs?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
But a representative government of the people had not been really done at any sort of scale for 2,000 years.
So we came over here and we said, fuck the taxes.
2,000 years!
Fuck the taxes. Fuck the...
Yeah, but that's also fuck the protection from the king. Fuck having the army. And when the French want to come at your door, don't fucking come crying to me.
When did we like those guys like land? So they landed over here in what? Like that was like 1492 but that was under
Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
That was he
Italy
sailed for the Spaniards. I thought
he was Italian and he did sail. I think you're right.
The Spaniards, but then the
Queen Isabel. You might be right, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so like the guys like Ben Franklin, George Washington, those guys, those are all British dudes. Like, and then they're over here, and then around 1776,
they're colonists. Some of them were born in the colonies, but they're British colonists.
Okay, British colonists, and they signed. So they lived like their whole lives here.
A lot of them, yeah.
Washington served in the British Army, no?
He was a general.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the French and Indian War. The French and Indian War is really what started everything.
Okay.
Well, that was really where, the crown, that was really where the crown was like, hey, I don't need your fucking borders. What do I need Maine for?
Right, they didn't care about Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Maine. Like why you guys keep trying to go west?
What the fuck's up Maine?
Yeah. I don't care about furs. You trappers want to go out there and make some money. All I care about is give
me my peace. So
give me some tobacco. Give me tobacco, sugar, and shut up.
Yeah.
And
pay your
so if I'm gonna be if the crown is gonna be paying to solidify these the borders of these colonists, you guys got to pony up. Right. Now the king should have went about it in a better way, but the king was the king. He's like, shut up and pay. He was a dick about it. It's like, shut up and pay. And if you don't,
maybe a nicer guy about it, maybe they.
Yeah. And if you're not willing to pay, I'll just take it.
Okay.
Right.
So then, 1776, they're fed up.
Yep.
Sign the Declaration of Independence, which is like basically making yourself a marked man.
That's it.
You're basically on the hit squad now. Like they're coming for you.
So that's what makes John Hancock so badass. So like the idea of throw your John Hancock on there.
Yeah, and you were saying a lot of people were silently like, yeah, yo, I'm with you, but they're not signing the Declaration. John Hancock's like, whoosh, he's like putting his shit right all up out there. Like, you see me.
Yep.
Yeah, come and get it.
I mean, dude, just think about it on a 1/1,000,000% scale. Look at what happened with the COVID mandates and lockdowns. How many people would you talk to and they'd be like, yeah, these mandates are bullshit. But then as soon as they walk outside, mask goes on, and then they're not willing to stand up. They'll tell you, hey, I support you. You go ahead. So all
those guys who signed it, bona fide bad motherfuckers.
Bad.
And
they had something to lose.
And that's 1776.
John Hancock wrote that shit as big as he possibly could. If John Hancock could have wrote a dick on that fucking thing, he would have done it.
He wrote cock. But so they signed it, and then That's 1776. 4 years later, there is when. So then, guerrilla war proceeds.
Yep.
We're popping around. The British soldiers are marching, and we're just like gacking them out in the fields. We're like sneak attacking, fucking them up.
Kind of.
And then eventually, they're like kind of like how Vietnam and Afghanistan. They're like, fuck this isn't worth it.
That's it.
Yeah, they're like,
That's
fuck
it.
this. This isn't worth it.
Yep.
Let's let these little fucking colonists have their own little thing.
That's it.
For now.
So there's this idea that we whooped the British ass.
Yeah,
We did not.
right.
We outlasted them.
Outlasted them.
We had a couple victories. We had a couple big wins, that really pissed some people off.
Right, like we could have nuked Vietnam. But
Yes, and they
didn't.
could, and they
could have nuked us.
They could have sent the full force of their army at any time and said, "All right, enough's enough." They could have went door to door, but they were trying to because remember, these are people's cousins, these are people's family.
Right,
you know what I mean? These are, there's they were the biggest trading partners in the world. It was a family feud.
Right.
So
then when we got it,
Yeah.
when we finally got the power, who are some of the guys at the top? George Washington, obviously. He didn't even
yeah.
want to be president.
for sure, John Adams, Sam Adams.
Sam Adams, the
Yeah.
beer guy.
Sam Adams, the beer guy.
All right.
He was the tea in the harbor. Sam Adams was Billy Badass.
I wonder if that's how he came up with his recipe.
Sam, dumping the tea. Yeah.
Hmm.
Even that. Like, imagine the balls of those guys. They got all drunk one night, dressed up as Native Americans, snuck onto military ships, and dumped all the fucking tea in the harbor.
Yeah.
And they got out of there.
Yeah.
Like, just imagine that. Imagine, like, what would that be today? Imagine, coming out of here like what would it be?
I don't know.
Like sneaking into Fort Dix and like as like a bunch of Ukrainians and driving out of here with tanks. Like, hey, I got an order here for the Ukraine. Biden says I need these tanks. Need tanks right now. It's good. All right, you can have the tanks, and then the tanks end up in like Biscayne Bay or some shit. Like,
Right.
People there. We do such a shitty job of contextualizing how badass these people were. These people
now
were
they
unreal.
hate on them nowadays. They get hated on, if anything, instead of like celebrating. And once they got the power and got away from the British crown, they could have easily been. George Washington could have been king. They wanted him to be king.
They offered it to him.
They were like, "Yo, be our king." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Nah,
Yeah.
let's share this fucking thing and let's live free."
Yeah, he's like
Right?
he's like the last great moderate, man. Like, because they started with this Republicans and Democrats shit almost immediately. It wasn't Republicans or Democrats, but they started with this big government versus no government stuff almost immediately. And again, we weren't supposed to be. That's the other thing. We weren't supposed to be like one country that had one set of rules. We were supposed to be like every state was its own country. And we just agreed that we were all speaking the same language.
That's interesting. Every state was its own country. So like
That was the
United
idea.
States, so
The
okay, so it
United
wasn't
States of
right.
America was a
like
federation
each one,
of states.
So each one kind of would have their own government and control, and we'd work together. And
The Virginia Commonwealth. Like, yeah. Why does every state have its own Congress? It has its own Senate. It has its own governor. Like, it's every state is set up like the United States government. We were never supposed to have one federal government. We were never supposed to do it.
that was against the founding fathers.
Yes. And the only way a lot of states would even sign in is by, they said, look, if this deal ever goes bad, we need to be able to get out. And they're like, yeah, get out, whatever.
Right.
Well,
and then Civil War.
Yeah, 80 years later, now you can't leave.
So we had 80-ish good years.
70-ish.
70-ish.
And no, we didn't. That's not true. Because the British didn't like.
They didn't forget.
They didn't forget.
They didn't forget that little
No.
succession.
Yeah, and it was always thought of as these ungrateful plebs. You ungrateful plebs, after all we did for you. There was always this
Home of the brave, baby.
Yeah,
Come
you
and get
ungrateful. Yeah, it was like, I got you
fucking
ungrateful right here,
Yeah.
king. How much I got you, king, right here. Yeah, and they did this great thing, and they started this country, and then, there was this idea.
Started it super selflessly.
Super
Gave it back.
selflessly.
I like that part of it too.
Well, that's
I mean,
the
like
thing,
that needs
Nick.
to be remembered.
They
Like,
could have been the kings and the queens,
right.
and they didn't.
The guys who wrote their name on the paper, put their dicks on the table,
They gave it
balls
to
on
the
the
people.
line.
Matter of fact, what's hilarious is that the one founding father who's getting a PR makeover is Alexander Hamilton. at Hamilton, you know, and then he's being seen as like this again because he was kind of the closest we had to a socialist back then, and he's like, you know what we need? A central bank because we risked everything and we should get the
and he's
return.
getting good publicity.
Yes,
he did. Did he shoot and kill Burr?
Oh,
or did he,
the other
Burr
way.
killed
brother.
him.
Burr killed him.
They had a duel.
A fucking
These
duel.
two high-powered. Could you imagine the vice president and what was he? A senator or a congressman or a governor?
He was governor of New York at one point.
Is that right,
Hamilton.
Ben? Is that right? Burr and Hamilton.
Burr was definitely vice president.
Burr was vice president.
100%.
Hamilton might have been the governor.
I'm pretty
of New
sure
York.
he was governor of New York, but his big thing was he wanted to start a central bank. He was like the first guy that was like, we need a Fed
was
Reserve.
Burr against that? Was that what the
A lot of guys
duel was
were.
over?
Actually,
What was the duel about?
I think the duel.
I fucking love a duel.
I could be wrong, but I think the duel was over Hamilton like stooping people's wives.
Oh,
He was.
that's the guy getting the good pup.
He was cucking guys.
He was cucking motherfuckers.
He was out here. He was out here doing.
cucking motherfuckers.
Yeah. Well, nuck if you buck, cuck.
He knocked.
He knocked.
He knocked, and he
But
got
again,
bucked.
We think of these guys as pansies.
He got bucked. He died.
Yeah. He got shot in a duel by the
Right.
vice president.
Now, what you're supposed to do in duels is a duel is supposed to be like we take our paces and we both shoot. When we turn around, we shoot over each other's head, and we both are supposed to come back from it. This is like
That's
a gentleman.
if it's agreed upon beforehand.
That's a gentlemanly, like most duels are like that. It's like we're gonna duel and we're gonna lay it on the line, but kinda on the wink.
You call me out on a duel, I ain't shooting over your head, bro. No.
Yeah, I feel you. I always thought a duel was to the death. What's up, Ben?
So I'm looking up, and it said the duel was of the rivalry between the two men. Both had high-profile politician post-colonial America. In the duel, Burr fatally shot Hamilton in the abdomen, while Hamilton fired into a tree branch right above Burr's head.
Yeah. Big government Al fucked around and found out.
Yeah.
But again, we think of these guys like pansies.
Did it say what it was over?
These tight wearing.
This is
Wig-wearing
good energy,
pansies.
Ben. Good energy, Ben is who you're hearing now. I don't think you've ever heard Slick and Thick's ever heard him before.
Yeah.
It's usually our boy Omri.
And I love how people love to say our politics are more divided now than ever. Yeah. When AOC's out there challenging people to duels, we can start talking. When they out there taking 10 paces.
I like the badassery of it.
They
I
were
like
bad.
it. It's like
They were
men
badass.
are being men.
They were
men are being men.
badass.
You know what I mean? People
Yeah.
are standing by their morals, their convictions and beliefs, and are backing it up and are doing something about it.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I respect that.
And there were arguments about slavery right from the beginning. So critical race theory is a big topic, and nobody really knows what it is because they don't take the time to understand it. And
I barely understand what it is, or I've tried to.
So critical race theory is they're painting it as history, but it's not. Critical race theory is opinion on history, and it's very, very important to delineate those two facts. Critical race theory comes from critical theory, which comes from the Frankfurt School. And the Frankfurt School was basically a bunch of intellectuals sitting around in Europe going, all right, we believe that, the socialist revolution, they were Marxists. How do we bring on this proletariat revolution? And what they understood was you can't have revolution in a time where people are prospering. You have to make people
Hard to go to war when you're sleeping in satin sheets.
Exactly. Nobody is open to revolutionary
You're comfortable.
ideas.
Even like here, we got Netflix and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Queen size bed and you're good.
You got
Some pussy, some food, some beer.
as long as you make the prison comfortable enough, nobody will look for the door, right? So what they decided is that there are certain veins, there are certain cracks in the foundation of every nation, in the foundation of every group, let's say. And in Europe, it was class. It was class structure, right? It wasn't race. There really wasn't the concept of race in Europe. Very homogeneous societies. And what was easy, though, is that there was an aristocracy for hundreds of years. And that no matter how smart you were, no matter how strong you were, no matter how hardworking you were, if you were born into the wrong family, what you could do in this world was capped. Completely capped. There was 100% a ceiling. So class warfare.
Oh, and just for the youngins, when we say capped, we mean like capacity, not like
no
capping.
Yeah, we ain't capping.
We ain't capping.
Yeah. So it was, you maxed out. So the
There's
plight
a
of the
ceiling for it.
proletariat, there's, that was an easy sell for a lot of people. Now in America, we didn't have that. And there was so much upward mobility and it's such a fervent middle class that communism, whenever it tried to take a hold here in America, they kind of sounded like a bunch of whiny bitches. It was just like, bro, go to work. Go to work.
Yeah.
You'll be fine here. Go to work. Like, I don't give a shit. I don't care that he's got $1 billion. If I can get $1 million, what the hell? I'm not spending my time counting that guy's money. Then they tried gender. And kind of, again, nobody really gave a shit because, anybody who's
This
been...
is when? When did no one give a shit? Because you're talking about critical race theory here?
Yeah. This has been going on really since the civil rights movement. Critical race theory is an offshoot of critical theory.
I feel like it's
critical
something that
theory
I've
is
heard,
hundreds of years old.
I feel like critical race theory is something I've heard about in the past, 3 years.
Yeah, because socialism is having another rebirth. Critical race theory...
Socialism is like communism?
Socialism is the economic engine behind communism.
Okay.
Yeah. But for all intents and purposes, they're the same thing. For all intents and purposes. And critical race...
Communism's bad, okay?
Communism is unequivocally
Right.
bad. And I have no problem
Why?
saying communism is bad. Okay.
Why?
Very simple. For people that don't know.
Please, thank
Yeah.
goodness. Simple.
If I'm not going to sit here and say capitalism's perfect, it's not.
Okay.
But if you like the New York Knicks,
Okay.
all right, and you don't like the Brooklyn Nets, should you be forced to wear a Brooklyn Nets jersey?
No.
No. So your voice is in your spending ability. Your voice is in your power. Okay? I don't like the labor practices of Nike. I don't have to wear the LeBron James, right? In communism, you don't have that consumer choice. There's no consumer choice. Okay? You are told this is what your money, you get like coupons for your money, basically, right? There's not 15 types of soap and you chose which one's best for you. There's soap.
Okay.
And that soap maker gets that contract from the government to make soap.
Okay.
It's centralized out instead of market in.
Right.
You can't opt out of communism. There is no opting out. Think about every communist country that's ever existed.
Hold
on real quick, Mick. Think of every communist country that's ever existed.
Well, I got a quick question on that.
Do they
first.
build walls to keep people out?
I don't fucking know.
No, they build walls to keep people
like
in.
the Great Wall of China?
No, that was to keep the Mongols out, but they weren't communist back then. I'm talking like the Berlin Wall. I'm talking like communist nations can't. If you are born in a communist nation,
my question, because when you're talking about with the soap and shit, are communist nations typically corrupt? Because wouldn't someone be able to be like, hey, my brother makes soap, so we all go to his soap?
Yes,
someone in charge.
They are, but all nations are corrupt. That's the communist argument is
no more than
capitalist. Right. Which I
all
say,
right, you can get back to your fucking dialogue.
To which I say, it would be a monologue. But to which I say,
it's dialogue and monologue.
If you have a choice, you can always choose to opt out. Like, you can opt out of capitalism tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's nothing that's saying you have to buy anything that's consumer-based. There's nothing stopping you from moving out to the Midwest, getting onto a commune, planting your own seeds, nothing, right? One of the first things Stalin did was go after the kulaks, the farmers, because the farmers outside the city were like, this communism stuff's stupid. And they just started going back to bartering with one another. I'll give you 2 tomatoes for that fucking chair over there. Done.
But they dug communism back then for a little bit.
Who's they?
Well, Time Magazine.
Time Magazine dug communism.
Did you know that Hitler and Stalin were Time Magazine Men of the Year back to back?
I did know that. 2
of the people who are now regarded as, and for years have been regarded as total pieces of shit.
Well, they're genocidal maniacs.
You pull that up, Ben?
Genocidal maniacs.
Isn't that crazy? Who's in charge of Time those 2 years?
Well, that's an interesting thought. The powers that be, the elites, always want to give themselves credit. They're control freaks.
Okay.
They can't. Have you ever been like around somebody that has to control their environment? Like they're constantly cleaning something, or like it's just like, calm down, watch the game. Like,
right.
Those people get in control of government, and they're constantly trying to make everything more efficient, or they need to control their environment, and by controlling their environment, that means they have to control you.
Sure.
right? And then there's another section of people that the second you want to control me, I'll never let you do it. You got to kill me. I'll literally never let you do it. No matter if you're right or wrong. It's just you don't have that control over me. I control my life.
Yeah.
Right? And so when these great organizers, so this idea of the nation state, the free society, capitalism, fascism, communism, people have to understand these ideas are 120 years old.
That's it.
In the history of humanity, in the hundreds of thousands of years of humanity, our evolution, and the 10,000 years
How
of
old's
our...
capitalism?
200 years old.
Okay.
The
So
Industrial
they're both
Revolution.
around the same age. Like, it's not that far off.
These are brand new concepts.
And before that was what? Like monarchical? Well, I know we couldn't
Empires.
come up with that word.
Yeah,
empirical.
empires.
Yeah.
Top-down dictatorships, tyrannical governments.
Yeah, one monkey gets on top of all the other monkeys.
Tells monkey
Of
what
us
to do.
monkeys,
Yeah.
tells you what to do.
For thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
Monkey says this is bad, gets nailed to big trees.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
You know, there's... Big bank has always beat little bank for forever. This is a... They even called it the great experiment in democracy. Ben Franklin, our great experiment in democracy. A democracy, if you can keep it. Who was that? Was that Thomas Jefferson? A republic. I'm sorry, not a democracy. A republic, if you can keep it. They knew that this was going to be under assault by the elites. They knew it. They knew it. They knew it. They knew it. What did Washington say when he was leaving office? Guys, please. I'm begging.
Stay out of foreign affairs.
No foreign entanglements.
What's going on with...
And no political parties. I am fucking begging you.
And we got 2 of them. And we got... I mean, how many foreign entanglements?
5 minutes later.
Yeah, fuck. That lasted fucking, 60 years? 70 years?
Yeah, maybe. And I bet
Shit.
you the founding fathers would have been like, bro, let the South leave. What the fuck?
Right,
Let
so
them
you're
leave.
saying that that's I would say an or at least a unique opinion. I don't know if it's unpopular, but
It's
especially like where we grew up, we're like, yeah, the fucking North.
Yeah,
We won that shit.
for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what's up, South?
What's popping?
you know,
Yeah.
you all want to do it again?
What's
you all want to
happening?
run it back?
Oh, the South will rise again. Whenever you ready, dog.
Yeah. But really, you think based on how everyone's supposed to be kind of individual countries, if they
Yeah.
wanted the separation, they should have been allowed to do so.
I see it both ways. I understand what Lincoln did, and I understand why preserving the
Lincoln's taking a beating nowadays.
well, this is the
Didn't Disney just do something where they were shitting on Lincoln?
yeah. It's just so to go back to the critical race theory, why it's become so popular, you asked, is because specifically my theory on it is that those founding fathers that we had are the number one threat to these globalist communists that want to tell everybody to eat bugs and shut the fuck up.
Ooh.
Because
And
these,
control you
because
and lock you down.
well, think about what they did, bro.
Make you get injections.
What
all that
happened?
shit.
What happened? What happened after the American Revolution? French Revolution. The French people were like, "Hey, we want some of that sweet, sweet freedom." And then after the French Revolution, you know, it started a domino effect across the world that kept going all the way into the mid 20th century when India got out of the British Empire, and like it started a 200-year peasant revolt globally, essentially. That might have, concluded with, the Cultural Revolution in China and Vietnam. I mean, all these things are tied together. All these things are tied together, man. I mean, these things are not isolated incidents. The American Revolution really started this idea of the governments by the people for the people.
Okay.
Which
So
split
did that
into two
sparked
camps.
a lot of other revolutions?
Yes.
The American Revolution.
Yes.
We're some trendsetters.
100%. Matter of fact, Napoleon, I believe on his deathbed, or at least in Elba, Ben, if you can bring this up, he lamented, "They wanted me to be another Washington."
They wanted me to be another Washington.
Yeah.
Who's they?
The French. Yeah. So the French Revolution.
And he wasn't?
The French Revolution was much, no, he was.
And he wasn't short, right?
He was
like maybe average
He was like
height?
5'7", 5'8", which was pretty average for the time. That was real British propaganda.
It was propaganda,
Yeah,
though.
it was
Like,
British.
this short little
Oh,
motherfucker.
this little Napoleon think he can do something to us. Yeah.
That sounded pretty French, though. I thought that was British
I should do
propaganda.
British. Oh, shit. Oh, this fucking Napoleon.
Well, that's kind of Cockney.
That's the only
I
one
don't
I
think
can do.
Parliament was speaking like that. Well,
this tiny Napoleon thinks he can do something about us. And Oh, yeah. But yeah, Robespierre, Maxime Robespierre, Madame Guillotine. Maxime Robespierre was like a writer, and again, a far left. He was what's called the Jacobins, far left version. So the American Revolution was led by libertarians before we knew what libertarians were, and the French Revolution was led by socialists before we really knew what socialists were, Jacobins.
So kind of a very different revolution. Very different party.
But this is what's interesting about the socialist and the libertarian. Their worldview is remarkably similar. They see the inadequacies of elitist government exactly the same, and we just diverge on solutions. So like somebody like Bernie Sanders and Ron Paul, they see everything wrong with government, and they agree with each other on what's wrong, even though they're on complete opposite ends of the political spectrum.
They have different solutions?
The solutions they offer are the devil in the details, for sure.
Okay.
You know, and to the untrained person, the libertarian seems like an anarchist. The libertarian solution is do nothing. And for people that are control freaks, do nothing.
What do you mean?
Do nothing.
Like have no government?
Do nothing.
For who? Who does nothing?
Slavery. Should have done nothing. That sounds insane.
What does that mean?
That sounds insane, right? Like, how do you sit there and let people be enslaved? Slavery was on the way out. Slavery was so expensive. What ends slavery isn't warfare. It's innovation. The cotton gin ended slavery. Greed ended slavery. Now, this is a really tough thing for people to hear, and this is a very unpopular opinion, but you don't need to feed a cotton gin. A cotton gin doesn't have kids. You don't have to clothe a cotton gin. You don't have to give the cotton gin shelter. The cotton gin is far superior of machinery than a human being. Cotton gin doesn't get sick. Cotton gin doesn't get tired.
All right. I get your point.
So slavery was going away.
Okay.
It was too expensive. The reason the North was able to beat the living shit out of the South, really with one arm tied behind their back, the North wasn't even really trying that hard in the beginning of the Civil War, to be honest. The reason the North was able to beat the hell out of them is because they were so much wealthier. They were industrialized. The North was industrialized. They had trains. They had, and that was kind of like the South's point, was like, hey, you guys have a lot to say about what we do down here. You guys are making all this money. Why don't you give some money down here? Why don't we do some of this? And they were fighting over slavery because it was morally repugnant. And so the people in the North tried to use their leverage and their wealth to be like, we will give you the money and we will help you get rid of slavery. And the South was like, it's an institution, blah, blah, blah. We're already poor. You're going to make us more poor. And they wanted out. But really, they just wanted out. They just didn't want it. They didn't feel like one nation. Virginians felt like Virginia. Like Robert E. Lee
and that's as it was meant to be. Everyone was supposed to
in their mind.
In the Founding Fathers' mind.
Correct. In many of the Founding Fathers. Now, John Adams and what were known as like the Federalists, those guys thought it should be one country. But what were known as the Democratic Republicans, they were like Thomas Jefferson and those guys. They were like, no, like Virginia should do what Virginia does. And if you don't like it, leave Virginia. In their mind, that was the right way to go because it's very hard to leave a continent. It's very easy to leave a state.
Sure.
If you like the way New York does things, go live in New York.
Go live in New York, yeah.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Right? But if you don't like the way America does things, I got to go to hell. I got to go all the way over to Europe, take all my assets,
all right, so
change my money.
Tell me, all right, we got to make sure, how many of these topics did we actually close off?
Oh, it's none of them. Can we go to the comments real quick? Is there any comments that we can get
on
to?
this? I know there were some early comments I wanted to hit, but
I love this shit, by the way. These are great questions, Mick. I can go off on this crap all day long. And also, for the record, for the haters out there, I'm not pro-slavery. I'm not. I can't believe I have to say that.
Yeah, I wouldn't hang out with this fucking kid if he was.
Yeah. As Mickey Gall told you guys in the last episode, all right, the UFC is rigged and racism is never okay.
Dude, that's such a contradiction. Fucking idiot.
But yeah, I think, we do such a shit job of teaching this stuff, and this has such a direct impact on where we are in our life right now today. I almost feel sometimes like they teach history poorly on purpose to make people disinterested in it.
Yeah, history is very interesting. I love history. but yeah, it's not always very palatable.
Yeah.
At least the way it's like formally taught.
It's like watching tape, man. It's like watching tape. It's watching tape on humanity. Like you watch a tape on an opponent, you pick up tendencies. You read history, it's like watching tape. It's like, oh, government's going to do this. Guarantee you ain't getting this right back. How'd you know that? Well, it's been done 18 times before.
Yeah, it's been proven.
Yeah.
It's been tried. Yeah.
These type of people that seek that type of power
Here, ready?
have a certain personality type.
This might be another little pivot, but it's a going back to pivot. So after we got our freedom in like 1780, 4 years after the Declaration was signed.
Yep.
We had about the British were still fucking with us though.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Going up and down the coast, pirating shit, kidnapping people.
Really? So if you're out in a boat, like you might get fucked up by a British.
Bro, you might get kidnapped and drafted into the British Navy to go fight pirates and the French and the Spanish for 10 years.
So almost like a 10-year slavery bid.
100%.
Wow.
This is when people, I used to do a joke about this and it never landed. I got to figure out a way to make this funny for people. But I was like, there is no such thing as white privilege. There's British privilege. The Brits did everything. It's the Brits. And it's remarkable to me that the only two white people that are like allowed on TV anymore are the Vikings and British. They were the worst of all. They were the worst colonizers of anybody. Like, what's the British were the worst. And this idea of like white privilege, if you were Irish, you were getting raped by Britain for 1,000 years before the New World ever existed. And now you have to sit here and admit your privilege. It's like, what the fuck? It's British. Let's get the Brits to pony up some cash, man.
Right.
It wasn't, I will give you $1,000. Ben, I will give you $1,000 right now if you can name me one Irish colony. Name me one Irish colony and I will give you $1,000.
I'm Irish, but I don't know any of them, man. I don't know any of them.
You know what I'm saying?
Ben Castro is Irish?
Isn't that wild?
Nice. Nice.
No, well,
you gotta be a half ski. Huh?
I'm half Colombian, half Irish.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's our first one. Your mom colonized your dad. Good for you. Good on you. Good on you. You would think that would go the other way. An Irish guy would get a Colombian woman. That's what I dream. That's what I dream of. I dream of that.
That's what you dream of.
Oh,
Yeah.
I dream of that.
Your big Irish ass.
For
for
her
Colombian
big Colombian ass.
mamacita.
Mamacita.
Señorita.
Yeah. Titi me pregunta. What do you think about all this? What are your thoughts on all of this? Like, what are your thoughts? Do you think this is like important? Do you think this is dumb? Do you think this is?
I think it's important to remember one, to know our history, two, to remember it, and I think kind of to honor it in a way.
Mm.
You know what? Like if that's what we like believe in, like those tenets of the founding fathers and stuff. That I think they're kind of being dragged through the mud nowadays. And I think that like you said, those are some of the baddest motherfuckers ever.
Do you see
like
that
those
as
are bold men who did stuff for the greater good, not for selfish reasons, to make the ideal America what it was. You know.
Do you see them getting dragged through the mud as purposeful?
I didn't really think of the agenda so much. You know what I mean? Like I think about it, but I thought maybe things were different back then. They could this or that, but I mean I didn't think about the global elites purposely slandering them. That's obviously a Gerard take.
Well, it's not. Well, actually, one of the reasons I love the UFC, guys like Jake Shields, Dariush, really smart guys. They're very open about this as well. But think about it, right? Like, when I say the global elites, like China is pumping, I mean, this is not a conspiracy. This is a fact. China pumps billions with a B of dollars into both our media and our education system to make sure that their worldview is promoted.
These mics are popping a lot, huh? Are they a little crumbly?
When I talk, I think this one is, yeah.
Okay.
Now I'll move away a little bit.
All right.
But they pump billions of dollars into our information systems, our colleges, our education.
To misinform?
No, to direct. This is really what critical theory is. It's information with a direction. It's not just, hey, slavery happened. It's slavery happened. These are the good guys. These are the bad guys. And this is why the bad guys owe the children of the good guys. That's it. That's the difference. It's an angels and demons thing. It's a good guy, bad guy worldview. As opposed to information-based, it's opinion-based. That's a very, very, very big difference. And the fact that they're lying about what it is shows you why you shouldn't trust any of them. My big issue with every communist I meet, with every socialist I meet is...
How many communists you meet?
Well, I used to, when I was in political circles, I met a lot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who are closeted socialists, who only admit they're socialists around other socialists, you know? And that's kind of my point. If this worldview is so noble and every other worldview is so evil, why do you constantly need to lie about it? Why does it need a rebrand every 10 years? Oh, this isn't communism. This is democratic socialism. Okay. This isn't communism. This is stakeholder capitalism.
I think I've said this before, but I do feel like they or we have like forgotten about communism a little bit. Like that was such a fear years ago, you know? Like I guess in the wake of Hitler and Stalin and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Who again were Times Men of the Year.
Yeah. Because it was good before it was bad.
It was good.
Communism, fascism are always good in the beginning because you get rid of, because they kill people, take their resources,
and they get rid of like poverty.
By spreading those resources around, right?
Yeah.
You know, so like, let's say that a new Hitler took over America and killed Bill Gates and all the other billionaires that opposed him, and he had $1 trillion worth of money.
Ganked their shit.
Yeah, this is what Caesar did. What made Caesar so popular is that he seized lands from old senators that opposed him. His political opponents gave that money and land to the peasants that supported him. Mm-hmm. So that, you know, if I could take 10 billionaires, take all their money, and give $50,000 to 5,000 impoverished people, well, I'm pissed off 10 people, and maybe they're 30 family members, and I just got 5,000 fervent allies and all their family members. What's the play?
Yeah.
Now, that lasts for about 10 years, and then you run out of billionaires.
Mm-hmm. And then what?
There you go. Then now I'm the rich guy. And the next guy up says, well, this guy's the rich guy. The reason why you're poor is because this guy got greedy. Mm-hmm. It's that Trotsky. It's that evil Trotsky.
They eat their young.
Revolution eats its young. Yeah. Margaret Thatcher had the best quote ever. The problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money. Mm. Right? You have to have an innovative society. There has to be incentive to innovate.
Capitalism.
There has to be incentive to innovate. You want to end slavery? Well, you got two options. The government starts a war and tries to kill people, says, no, this is bad, stop. Or some guy drinks a couple Miller High Lifes and invents a cotton gin. Makes slavery irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. Right? Like, innovation is the way. I believe in the market. I believe in greed. Like, I trust the greedy more than I trust the crazy. Does that make sense? Is that
because greed is more predictable?
Absolutely,
than crazy?
Absolutely. I trust the greedy more than I trust the crazy. Okay. If someone is like a religious, fervent, or like an AOC, I'll never trust her because she has this like religious fervor for her worldview. But
which is more akin to craziness.
That's crazy.
Okay,
that's crazy, right? Like you could see her, like Karl Marx wrote in Capital. The last capitalist we hang will be the one that sold us the rope. So don't tell me this is a peaceful worldview.
Right.
It's not. Their Bible says the last capitalist we hang will be the one that sold us the rope. So, yeah, I would rather a business guy who understands incentive and disincentive be in charge than somebody who adheres to that worldview.
I'm gonna make you pivot back to some American history. So,
and we gotta get comments at some point here, Ben.
We went so we got 1780. George Washington's in charge.
Uh-huh.
What?
I'm sorry, I just got distracted by some Boca babes out here.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of puppy dogs, but it's a little distracting for my ADD here. But so the War of 1812. Mm-hmm. That was between us and the Brits again.
Yeah.
So we had like a rematch.
Oh, the Brits were itching for it. Yeah, we had the Monroe Doctrine and
So we went about 40 years from 1780,
30.
and they were like they were fucking with us a little bit,
They were fucking with us the whole time.
and then full on war broke out in 1812.
Yeah, finally America had enough. And I forget if it was Monroe or Madison. I think it was Madison. The Monroe Doctrine basically said that all of North America and South America the waters are America's to police. And Britain was like, oh yeah, with what army and with what navy, right? Like, so then they started, they started flexing. They were like, cool law you got there. Let's see if you can enforce it. And eventually, America was like, all right, we'll fight back. And Britain just kicked the shit out of us.
In 1812.
Kicked the shit out. They burnt the White House to the ground. A lot of people don't know that.
In 1812.
Burnt the White House to the ground. Captured the flag. Beat the shit out of us.
Where was the president?
Our Star-Spangled Banner, he got out just in time, and it's very famous.
And you don't remember which one that was?
I think it's Madison because the famous thing is Dolly Madison. Badass little Dolly Madison.
Who's that, a girl? The daughter?
No, it's his wife, but she was much younger. Running back into the burning White House to get the original painting of George Washington and save it.
Wow.
Because she
was honoring her
she
forefathers.
revered him that much. She ran into a burning building to save that painting, which is still on display at the White House today. If I remember that correctly, I'm sure I got that wrong too. But
Hope you're not getting all this shit wrong, G. You're going to really make me look bad if you haven't already.
The Star-Spangled Banner, our national anthem, people think comes from the Revolution. It does not. It comes from Francis Scott Key and occupied either Maryland or what's next to Maryland and Virginia there? Where's the naval? I think it's
It was
Maryland.
in Baltimore.
Baltimore, right? Baltimore
Yep,
Harbor.
You got it.
Yeah. And he was there to negotiate a hostage exchange, correct? And he wrote the Star-Spangled Banner, which has two more verses that nobody knows, because they're dumb and long. But yeah, that's where that comes from. And Britain would have taken us back over. They would have kicked the shit out of us if not for Napoleon.
So Napoleon helped us out then.
Oh,
was this in the middle of the French Revolution?
After the French Revolution. So the French Revolution again ate its young.
When was the French Revolution? When did that pop
Ben,
off?
you gotta pull that up. That's the beginning of the 19th century, if I remember correctly.
Which means the 1800s.
Yeah, it was the end.
It's confusing. The 20th century is not the 2000s; it's the 1900s.
French Revolutionary War was 1792 to 1802.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were 10 years after in the wake of that.
Yeah, but there was basically two revolutions that came together into one. The first one was they got rid of the king, and then they started killing everybody, all the aristocrats.
And was Napoleon kind of the high command?
La Madame
Say,
Guillotine.
answer my questions and don't do fucking French impressions sometimes.
Do you know what La Madame Guillotine is?
La Madame Guillotine?
Yes.
I know two of those words.
What is it?
It's like Lady Guillotine.
That's right. And they would just drag these aristocrats into the streets and off with their head. It became an absolute murder spree. It was a 10-year murder spree.
Why is it Lady Guillotine?
La Madame Guillotine. They were like, get in line or else. And the crazy thing is, the guy Robespierre, who started all this, ended up, basically the end of his revolution was him getting his head cut off.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Eating their young again.
Yes. And Napoleon was a brilliant politician, and he was obviously part of the French king's guards.
He was a general.
He was, at the time, a lieutenant, if I remember correctly, but he was an aristocrat himself. But he played it perfectly. He acted like he was part of the people. Yeah. And then once he saw that this thing was turning and that the people were kind of losing control, he's like, after a while, watching people get their head cut off every day, the people were like, you know what? I don't care I don't care what government it is. We need some government. Right. This is getting crazy.
So who's in charge of cutting everybody's heads off?
Well, it went back and forth. The Jacobins they got real bloodthirsty.
Okay.
As communists do. And then Napoleon comes in, takes over, and says, I will give you the safety and security that you need, and all I require is to be your emperor. And he did. And then what he did was really brilliant, and he said, you know how he stopped the French from fighting each other?
No.
He went into other countries.
Is that when he came over here and helped us with the British?
No, he never came over and helped us with the British.
thought that was how that just started.
No, what he
From
did.
the
What he
1812.
did
He
was
sent motherfuckers over here?
No, he started taking over all of Europe. He gave us Louisiana. So we have the Louisiana Purchase. He basically gave us everything west of the Mississippi was French territory. And they had no idea how big it was. They had no idea how big
How'd
the
they get
continent
it?
was. They claimed it
When?
during the colonial expansion era.
Okay.
They said this is,
I like history.
yeah. So they
Trying to
just,
learn some
they
shit
just
here.
claimed it. They said this is ours, and whether or not you could defend your border, it was yours. And the Indians they were like, hey, this is ours. They're like, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So he sold it to us to fund his wars,
Okay.
and he sold it to us for so cheap, thinking after he defeated Britain, he would just come over and take it back.
Take it
anyway.
back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got the Louisiana Purchase from him,
That was in 1803, by the way.
1803.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. The Louisiana Purchase. You guys, give me a little bit of money.
So did Napoleon start war with Britain? Did he take their attention
Yes.
away from us?
Yeah, they started. First Napoleon took over most of Eastern Europe. All right, and then started going after the colonial hotbeds in Africa that were money makers.
Who stopped Napoleon?
The British.
The
Waterloo.
British.
Waterloo. Yeah.
Okay, so they were like, all right, fuck America.
Yeah. He pulled.
Again,
he
it's
pulled
not
their
worth
attention.
it.
He pulled their
And-
attention.
And they went, okay,
Yeah. It's
a
like
little misdirection.
Yeah, it's a little like imagine you're.
We got a bigger problem over here.
Yeah, imagine you're fighting a fruitless war in Afghanistan for 20 years, and then somebody's like, there's more money to be made in the Ukraine, and then hypothetically, maybe you just go fight a proxy war in the Ukraine instead because it's more profitable than Afghanistan. Not saying that would happen anywhere,
Right.
but very, very similar if it would happen.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a threat. I mean, France and England, they share a channel. They're a mile away from each other. So this guy was getting way too powerful, and started
Got
knocking
to
on.
put an end to that.
Started knocking on the back door. And again, we were peasants. They're like, we'll go deal with these backwater peasants later, And again, people can hate on capitalism all they want, but what these wars and what this time really showed everybody is in an industrializing world where machines were replacing labor and gas, was becoming the number one commodity. Imperialism is a really, really expensive game. Why would you want to take over a country and have to, first you have to, subdue that nation's population, then you have to educate that nation's population, then you have to feed that nation's population. You have to integrate that nation's population into your world. It's a very, very expensive, long, and arduous track. Now you just put in a Starbucks and a Burger King, and it's like, I don't really care what happens to the people of Uganda as long as we can extract some wealth from it. As long as Delta can land, what do we care? Right? So, I mean, people could say that's callous or whatever, but to me, capitalism ended imperialism. Imperialism is a highly inefficient way of generating wealth.
I got a question from the comments over here. Runaway _ slave.
Runaway
Slav.
Slav.
Oh,
Runaway
Slav.
Yeah,
Slav.
he's been asking us questions.
Runaway
I'm actually
Slav
looking at his
never coming
question
back.
here, and I just wasn't super psyched, but you go for it.
Okay. Question.
Here, let's hear Gerard talk.
This is a question for Gerard. Thoughts? Why is the anthem even played at sporting events?
All right, I'll see you guys later.
No, he makes a good point, though, Mick. I mean, I love it, but it's also like nationalism is kind of dumb on many ways. Like we're sitting here talking about.
I think we do it to honor the people who fucking made this country a place that we fucking live in.
I'm with that. I get that.
I don't. Yeah.
But
I'm sure you could talk about some other point of it for
no, but
a
I'm
while,
just, but I'm just saying, like when those people were alive doing this, was your family even in this country?
I'm sorry, say that again.
When those people were alive fighting these battles to create this place, was your family even in this country? Neither was mine.
Yeah, mine didn't come here till like almost the 1900s, late 18s or some shit
So
like that.
on one level,
But they wouldn't have had a country to come to if it wasn't for them.
that was what I was going to say. On one level, they created this place for my impoverished Irish ancestors to come and build a great life for their lineage.
Okay, so that's
So-
why it's important.
so
And
there's
honor the
gratitude.
people still fighting, whether it's misguided wars or whatever our opinions are. The people who are laying their life on the line and shit, we're honoring them and
Yep.
honoring,
Yeah.
So that's what I think,
So-
national anthem's cool with me.
So the cynic in me says all nationalism is dumb, all tribalism is dumb. It's taking credit for the victories of other people, but that part of me is very much subdued by the feeling where I agree with you. Gratitude, for the opportunities that we have. Gratitude and remembrance of the sacrifices it took to give us the opportunities that we have, I think is important. And I think that, especially in a sporting event where,
It's a war game.
yeah, but people are making, people are living out their dream in a way
Yeah.
that
They're not dying.
Yes, I think
Not
I think
dying,
it's-
nameless and unforgotten, like real heroes.
Yeah, and I during the anthem, before the games, if it was a big game when I was playing, it was a great moment of reflection for me, and I would think about my parents, and I would think about the sacrifices and who sacrificed to give me this opportunity. It was a very, very great moment to center yourself, and
You should be grateful to everyone in your lineage. Again, like I've said, who's had to fight to keep your bloodline alive, and you should honor that the best that you can as well. It should be a kind of a point of reflection. Like I got this one life. I got to do my darndest in it to be my best self and do the best for me and everybody around me.
yeah, I agree. I think I understand the cynical perspective on it, but I think it's outweighed.
I don't understand the cynical perspective.
Well, you know what? It's more so the national anthem. It's more towards like the idea. What their perspective would be is like, why are kids doing the Pledge of Allegiance first thing in school? They don't know what they're saying. They're pledging allegiance to a flag. It's an indoctrination thing.
I get that.
The same thing with the national anthem.
I guess I do get that, but I feel like they're two different things.
Well, it's this idea of nationalist indoctrination. This kind of xenophobic, jingoistic idea of the American
Jingoistic Unchained? I don't know what that means.
this dumb forced community of we're on the same team together, but we didn't.
We are.
I agree with you. I'm trying to give you their perspective.
We should be.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's kind of sowing discord there. You know what I mean? Like that agenda, that kind of thought process.
Yeah. That's the. Again, that's where
the fucking anarchists and
that's where the socialist and the libertarian see eye to eye. The socialist goes, America was never great. I'm not. What am I to be grateful for? And then the libertarian goes, nationalism is a stupid concept. Nobody should adhere to these old laws. And again, we talked about the last podcast, the four olds with the Cultural Revolution and Mao. What he did is get rid of the old traditions, the old statues. I think that stuff's important. I agree with you. And this is where I kind of diverge with a lot of my libertarian buddies. I do not agree with the non-aggression principle. I think sometimes the best defense is good offense. And I also think that heritage is important. I think celebrating heritage is important. I think having pride in your countrymen and in your nation is not a negative. I think it's a positive. I think it builds community, and I think it's much more of a positive than a negative. So I agree with you. All I can do is provide you their perspective.
All right. What else you got, Ben?
All right. I got unending grimeness. I want to know Gerard's thoughts on the balloons.
Why the fuck
that
they only
we
want
are
to talk
showing.
to Gerard? It's the Slick and Thick podcast, not the fucking Thick and Thick podcast. The fuck? I'll just be out.
No, man. Well, my thoughts on the balloons. I don't
No
know.
one wants to know what I think about the fucking balloons.
I want to know what you think about the balloons. What do you think about the balloons?
I wanna
Please,
know.
please, guys.
I wanna
please.
know.
Please, Gerard. Can
Yes.
we please hear from you?
These, by the way, to my family writing in right now, I can't thank you guys enough for doing this. This is exactly
Fucking Gerard stands out there.
This is all I ever wanted. This is
Fucking bunch of chubby chasers out here. Fucking trying to.
this is
It's enough of him to go around.
this is the Frank Sinatra.
Long-winded son of a bitch.
This is the Frank Sinatra. This is the Frank Sinatra moment. Hey Mick, come on! I want you to do this podcast. Hey Mick, shut up! I'm talking now. Would you?
All right, go ahead.
Fucking something very weird, man. So I don't have enough information on it. I think it's very, very, very strange. It's very obvious they're lying to us. Once again, they're lying to us. And
who is the media, the government?
Both. They're
how many balloons have we shot down? I know about the one.
Well, there's different reports. There could be 4. There's one over the eastern seaboard.
Still flying?
That we let go all the way from Montana down to South Carolina.
And then shot it down but couldn't get it?
There's one that
we couldn't recover it, right?
That's what they said. Right. But then China came out and they were like, we know you have it, give it back. Like, also the balls. Then there's one we shot over Lake Huron. Then there's the one in Canada. Then there's the one in Cumtown, Alaska.
Cumtown.
Which they said is a balloon. But only after literally everybody who saw it was like, that's a flying saucer. That's not a balloon.
And we shot that shit down too, or
shot
what?
that down. Which, if we can shoot down flying saucers, big win. Big win.
I feel like if there's aliens out there, they're letting people. You were saying the other day that you think they'd be hostile and be bad, and we're fucked. I think they're letting us rock out because if they can get over here and haven't decided to fuck us up, we're in pretty good shape.
Do you?
Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic when it comes to that. I think they see guys like me and are like, well, why would we want to get rid of him?
You better be careful, buddy.
The aliens fucking love me.
I know. That's what you better be careful about.
Why? They're going to probe me?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
You going to be all right with being probed?
I don't know. I'm a tough guy.
They're gonna ask Joe Rogan who the most beautiful person on Earth is, and you're gonna be like, Joe, no. They're just gonna play the video. They're gonna go, who is this guy? Oh, Mickey, you're so fun. And we'll be like, wait, so what's the deal here? Are we all gonna get probed? No, you have to give one person to be probed. One person on Earth.
I'll do it for you guys. For all you guys.
For Runaway Slav.
Fucking hero.
Could Mickey fight the balloon?
He was probed for our sin.
See a speed bag the balloon? I don't know. I didn't get how even big is the balloon?
Big balloon.
Do we know?
Big balloon. It's big enough to be seen 40,000.
Does it have barbs?
Feet. Barbs?
Like barbed wire or like pointy things? Otherwise, yeah, I could probably fuck up a balloon. I haven't seen a balloon I can't beat up.
That's fair. That's fair. Haven't seen a balloon I can't beat up. Could you beat up the Goodyear blimp?
Yeah.
How would you beat up the Goodyear blimp?
Knife.
Oh, well, that's...
It doesn't have knives.
It's cheating.
Okay.
It's cheating.
I'd like grab it and
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's how I like open things with my teeth,
Yeah. Got that.
Yeah.
Heard that. Use that mouth. What that mouth do? Yeah, man. I think that, again, going back to one of the things you said before about the idea that these people are getting shit on, I think it's very, very important.
Who'd I say is getting shit on?
Our founding fathers.
Yeah.
I think for anybody listening to this, when there's that, it's a cliche to say, think for yourselves, ask questions, think for yourselves. But what does that actually mean, right? Like if you have heard your whole life that this dude is a G, and then all of a sudden you're like, this guy, Abe
G.
Lincoln.
Washington, or
sure, like if you've heard all life that this founding father is an amazing human being that did incredible things.
What's the beef with Abe Lincoln?
Well, the beef with Abe Lincoln, well, there's two different camps. There's kind of the libertarian camp, which is where they lose everybody again. They're like, this guy was a tyrant who misused the press and forced people to stay in a union they didn't want to stay, and blah, 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 blah. And then there's the other side now, which is crazy.
So the libertarians think that they should have let the South secede?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Continue.
But the libertarian also is like, the South would have came back. They were broke. They were poor. And they would have had to come back. And slavery would have gone away on its own. And so it's a very laissez-faire worldview. Basically, it's like, don't force anybody to do anything. If you have to force anybody to do anything, it's a bad idea.
Okay.
That's the libertarian worldview in a nutshell.
So Abe Lincoln
the socialist worldview in a nutshell is force people to do everything. They're dumb and they need help. Like, we're all a bunch of children in the wilderness, and if we're a bunch of plants that need to be fed.
See, that's kind of my beef. It's like, how you're just another man.
Meaning what?
That, you shouldn't necessarily, I don't need to be told.
Yeah.
I don't need to be told. I don't need someone, you know what I mean?
Convince me.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell me your point, but you know what I mean? Like, it's
the second you tell me I have to do something, and you can't tell me why, I'm out.
Right.
I'm out. You have to do this. Why? Don't ask questions. Just do it. Nope. We'll never do it. Could be the best thing for me on earth. We'll never do it.
Yeah, I remember my buddy Rogan talking about if, like, there's 10 people on an island, and one guy's like, you can't, eat this food. This food's illegal. I'd be like, what? Shut up.
Watch this.
Yeah, or like, I think he used it talking about smoking weed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you take that, we're going to put you in a box if you use that. It's like, why the fuck can you tell me what to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
just across the board, really. That shouldn't be. Like, I think that's where I like the libertarian thing, because it's about personal freedom, and I think that's what this country was built off of.
Yep.
You know? And those are the tenets that I really,
And little by
vibe
little,
with.
they chip away at it. And I don't think people really understand, like, what it means when you tell somebody they can't do something. This is the Gerard hates women part of the podcast. Women in particular, when I have the conversation, they say, you shouldn't smoke, right? Let's just use that as an example. You shouldn't smoke. And they're right. You shouldn't smoke, right? But when they say smoking should be illegal, there's something that with most of the women I've had a conversation with, they don't take into account. Women, for whatever reason, tend to really like laws, and they really don't like lawbreakers. They like people to be obedient. They're very much into that do what you're told stuff, right? On a societal level, okay? And what you're saying when you say XYZ should be illegal, just remember this. What you're saying is that if you do this, then a person with a gun should come and threaten to kidnap you if you do that thing. Like, smoking should be illegal, okay? And what if I say no? Well, then I'm going to call the cops. That's a person with a gun. And that person with a gun is going to use that gun to threaten me to stop doing what I'm doing. And if I say no to that person, I'm either going to get shot or kidnapped. That's what being arrested is. Being arrested is being kidnapped by the state.
Right.
So whatever law it is that you're enforcing, whatever law it is that you're getting behind, I hope you understand the consequences of what you're saying. Because if you think what happened to Eric Gardner is horrible, and you should, he's the guy that was choked out and died for selling Lucy cigarettes. Whoever said that guy selling Lucy cigarettes should be illegal co-signed on that guy losing his life. Because without that law, there is not that interaction with the police, and that man does not die.
Right.
So I just hope people understand that.
You think that's an inherent woman thing?
I think I've become much more aware of that since COVID. I think I never really thought of it that way. And I think, and it could be anecdotal, but I think since COVID, most of the women in my life and most of the women that I interact with, and definitely the women in government, have become shut up and do what you're told.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'd love to be proven wrong. But there's not a lot of women in the libertarian movement, that's for sure. It's actually kind of the joke.
Gee, why do you hate women, though?
What is a woman, Mickey? I mean, what is
shit, I'm not touching that one. We got any other questions, Ben? Anything good?
Let me see. All right. So Runaway Slav, back again. Why are people surprised that Trump, a Manhattan real estate guy, turned out to be such a grimy dude?
Yeah, that was the greatest con. That might be the fourth greatest con after college and, college and, I don't even remember what I said the other one was. Yeah, but the fact that he somehow convinced West Virginia coal miners he was one of them is one of the greatest sales jobs of all time.
I got a question here from Wrecking It. He goes, so I got a question for both Nikki and G.
Yeah.
And now they ask if we are jabbing at Brendan Schaub because he's thick boy comedy. And all right, well let's hit this one first.
Sure.
What? He's thick boy?
Yeah, his whole thing is like thick with 3 I's and 2 C's or whatever. Look, he doesn't get
so look, I like
a monopoly on the word thick.
Yeah. I thought it was like more like a chick thing.
Yeah.
At first, you know what I mean? But so I think I liked the fighter and the kid. I just haven't listened to it much. I know you.
We've been accused of trying to rip off the fighter and the kid by people.
If any fucking comedian or fighter does a podcast, we're ripping it off.
I guess. I think it's just some hater shit early on.
I don't know. I didn't see too many of that, but I could totally see how they could say that. You know what I mean? Fucking. There's plenty of that. You know what I mean? And I guess the thick thing could seem, if that's his thing, I could see how that could be a little thing. I love Callan.
Big fan of Callan.
Shab, I can go both ways on. Sometimes I've seen him be a flip flopper on things, and even to me personally, like I've heard him giving me some days he'll give me mad love, talk about how I'm one of the toughest guys in the UFC, talk about how so he was like, when I was gonna fight Sage Northcutt, he was like, oh, that's a different level. Mickey's gonna get his ass kicked, like almost like shit on my parade, like right after the CM Punk fight. And I was kind of like, all right, fuck this dude, whatever. And he's talking all shit. Mickey's gonna lose to Sage. Then he's on Rogan, and Rogan's like, I think Mickey's gonna beat Sage. And he's like, yeah, he'll probably beat him.
Yeah. Well, that's
like let's be a little thorough in our fucking opinions. So I don't see. That's the thing. I'll sit the fence before I go talking out both sides of my mouth. And that's one of the only things. And sometimes it seems like a little like a LA dick rider.
He's very LA.
You know what I mean?
He's very
and that's
much
just like kind of like that's not thorough to me. Like I want, I like people who are thorough, and I don't like know him. You know what I mean? So I bet if I did, we'd be fucking friends. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't speak out of both sides of my mouth about someone.
Hey, look, man. I was a fan of his. I was the guy that said, hey, we should get this dude on PBD Pod. One of the dudes that pitched him. Actually, it wasn't me. Nancy pitched him a whole bunch, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. But he's definitely clout-oriented. He wasn't really cool.
Which I get. That's kind of a currency. Some people fall into that nowadays.
Yeah. He showed up with a...
Seems to be doing well for himself, too.
He showed up rolling deep. Wasn't really, interested in having a conversation or doing any pre-production type stuff while we were waiting on the studio. Then... Nancy's like, well, hey, we saw you were with Jelly Roll. This, Gerard's friends with Jelly Roll. And then all of a sudden he wanted to, he texts Jelly. Jelly's like, oh, Gerard's a cool dude. All of a sudden now I'm cool.
Now you're cool.
And then he was mad cool to me, man. And then after that, he was real cool. We talked on the pod, and he's like, want to come on my show? And it was dope. I did 2 shows with him over New Year's. It was really cool, man. I had nothing but good things to say about him. And then goes on Rogan talking shit.
Is shitting on your baseball,
which is
and your
fine,
athleticism,
but at least say my name. Like, I could go on the biggest podcast in the world. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you wanted some of that clout, so you're falling into the clout game.
Yeah,
too.
but if you're gonna shit on me for no reason, like it was
right.
He shit on, he just brought it up for no reason. And it was like, bro, I thought we were cool. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, so you were just hanging out, had a good time, and then he goes on. Yeah,
goes on the biggest podcast in the world.
I don't I don't like talk about people behind their backs like that. Like if I have that opinion, I'd share it with them. If I was like, hey bro, you're being a little bit of a clown.
Yeah.
Gee, you obviously hate women. You know what I mean? I won't go tell some other person, especially go talk about it on a podcast.
Man, it was just some. To me, it's just some weird shit. It's like Saturday, I get a text like, yo, you want to come out on the boat? And then Tuesday, it's like, oh, yo, I had to put these guys in the place, Papa. It's like, you had to do what now? You had to do what? So
yeah, but no, I don't. We're not jabbing at anyone. I mean, it might seem like we are, not talking so nice now, but I'm not trying to be anyone but my fucking self.
No, I'm a big fan of Brian Callen's comedy. I think Callen is an underrated, brilliant,
funny as hell.
Technician. If you want to learn how to do comedy, watch Brian Callen's set. He's a brilliant comedian. And Brendan's an accomplished guy. He's an interesting guy. I think he's a good podcaster, and fucking, more power to him. I got no time. There's so much shit going on in this world.
He almost won the Ultimate Fighter, bro.
Yeah.
He's good. Won some good fights. Beat some tough ex-NFL players.
Yeah, he got he also he's got. And did he beat Nogueira? Who did he beat? He beat somebody. No, was it Crow Cop?
Yeah.
Crow Cop.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, dude, look.
Yeah, it's a nice
bro, you fight in the fucking UFC. I don't care if it's for 1 minute or you are a bad motherfucker, dude. Shit. It's amazing to me when people are now hanging out with you as much as I have. People are like, hey, blah blah blah. I can do this, I can do that. Do it. Bro, do it. It's not. It's and everybody. I say it all the time. Everybody's game for one night. Everybody can have that one scrap and be like, "I'm game in the moment. I'm a tough guy." Do it twice a day, every day for 6 months, and then have to do it for real in front of everybody.
Yeah,
that's
right.
That's craziness.
Got something, Ben?
Yeah, Mickey. Do you think you could take him?
Take Schaub?
Yeah.
He's
Or would
been
it
out of the
take both
game
of them?
for a little bit?
Huh?
He's been out of the game for a little bit. So I always say I wish there was I got to start this league one day. No fucking time limit.
No time limit. Open weight. Would you do
open weight? See, I'd probably have to weather a storm from an open weight. Even if I was fighting you, I'm gonna probably have to stick and move for at least like 39 seconds.
Good 39. Ooh.
39 seconds.
39.
I'm gonna have to be on my bike a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Snapping jabs. But yeah, I like. Yeah, I don't know. I like my odds.
The first UFC
I'm
was
a
open
fucking
weight,
fighter.
wasn't it?
That's what I'm. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
It was open weight.
Yeah.
So the two losses I have in competition were to jiu-jitsu against like 30 wins, bro. But it's fine, whatever. White belt.
Yeah.
Heavy on that white belt. Heavy on that white and blue belt. But the 165er in ultimate when I took silver after. So like for people that don't know, if you win a tournament, you have to come all the way back and fight a whole nother tournament against everybody who medaled in the tournament, right? So it was one of Tonan's guys climbed on my back and then outpointed me, and then this other dude who from Newark who was a 185er. So like size definitely matters, but
No, it does for sure.
it's not everything.
That's why at the same time, like if I was fighting like any heavyweight, if I was fighting a heavyweight in the UFC, a guy who's in the UFC, it'd be tough for me to win in a 15-minute duration.
Not a lot of heavyweights go 15 minutes, man.
They can though. The ones who are like the good ones, they can.
Are you going to be able to? But you should be able to out activity them for that 15 minutes.
But
you
they
can
might,
speed it up.
Right? Maybe I am like I can be. I will be as long as some of them, but there's also going to be bigger motherfuckers. Yeah, that's going to be fucking tough. But yeah, I think if there was if I got like a fucking 25-minute one round or even a 15-minute straight round, that maybe fit my favor.
How much different would the jiu-jitsu
if I was fighting
be?
A heavyweight?
How much different would the jiu-jitsu be?
My jiu-jitsu, I know how to break posture, use leverage, and I'll stay safe and not get fucked up on it.
So like a Stipe Miocic, who's like 225, not crazy heavyweight.
He's bigger than that, but
is he?
He's
He fought. He's a bad motherfucker. I feel like he's so disrespected in this whole thing. But
I should just worry about beating up guys in my own weight class. Maybe.
I wonder in an
Anyway.
open weight class, you think probably the 205
I think that's why I think the heavyweight champion of the UFC is the baddest motherfucker on the planet.
So is Francis Ngannou the baddest motherfucker on the planet right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
when John,
and if John Jones beats Cyril Gahn, then John Jones.
interesting. Yeah.
If Cyril Gahn beats John Jones, then it's like it's tough. I'd like to see Cyril Gahn and Ngannou again.
Interesting.
But
And we were watching yesterday, leading up to the Super Bowl, Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti.
Ooh,
Now, why do you think those
love
type of
both those guys. Shout out Mickey Rourke. Or
shout out to
shout
him
out
too.
Mickey Rourke too.
Yeah.
Shout out Mickey Ward and shout out my Mickey namesakes and shout out Arturo Gatti. Rest in peace.
Now, those are two guys that are known more for their battles than their careers. Like it's almost like we talk about
Well,
movies. A
but that's
villain
because they
makes
did
a
something
hero.
so special.
Do you think that those fights, because of the way stoppages work in the UFC, those type of fights can't happen? Because Arturo Gatti goes down with that liver shot, he gets
1,
climbed
2, 3,
on,
and it's over.
and it's over.
Yeah.
There's no comeback.
Well, it's a little. That's why MMA is a little safer because you get rocked, you get bing bing over. You know what I mean? And it's like fuck, like it sucks for like the fighter in you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you feel like you're getting robbed.
Sure.
You know.
But for
it's
for
the way it fucking
storytelling, you can't
works.
come back. There's no comebacks.
Yeah.
very
I mean,
few
sometimes
comebacks.
that's why I like the refs who let it go. You know what I mean? I think let them really slump. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what I think.
So is there never really going to be that type of fight in the UFC
There can be, but it is different.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's more dynamic.
That 10 count gives people a chance to come back. Then that's drama.
100%.
There's no
Look at,
drama.
Fury Wilder.
Yeah, look at Fury.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And that is something that, is great about boxing. It's also dangerous for the participants, for the combatants. They're,
because
laying there.
Because they're out on Sleep Street.
Well, it's a fucking, you're getting, and then you watch that
You're
Arturo Gotti, Mickey Ward thing, and then you're getting back on your feet.
Your body shut
You
off.
get hit in the liver, and you got to protect your liver, and ding, 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 getting punched in the fucking head. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
it's
exciting to watch, though, boy.
Yeah, bro, that's man shit.
Yeah.
That's just dope.
And then there was
all respect to them.
Who were those two Spanish fighters that did it a couple years after Gotti and Ward? And one guy was knocked down. His corner was about
Castillo,
to throw.
Trinidad, Marquez. I don't know. One of one of those.
His corner was
guys.
about to throw in the towel, and he knocked the dude out. And another one. But again, in MMA, that doesn't happen. That's a stoppage. Those comebacks don't happen in MMA.
Not always, bro. Fucking look at Czech Congo Pat Barry.
Yep.
I can't remember who the ref
Linton
is. It might have been Herb Dean. Yeah, Linton Vassell. His last
Swarm.
fight, the fucking big
That
Swarm.
was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's dope. That's what makes it epic. So, I get that it's their job to protect fighters from themselves, but so it's why it's a mixed bag.
Would the
man.
sport be more interesting if instead of ground and pound there was a standing 10?
No, because you take away such a dynamic aspect. That's real. That's a real shit. In a real fight, in our ancestors that kept our bloodline alive, if you got knocked down, you're hitting them with your hand, if not a fucking rock or some shit. You know what I mean? That's how we probably had to stay alive. That's probably what one of our ancestors did. Yours, mine, everyone listening to this.
Yeah.
At some point.
Somebody was on top of you. You had to defend yourself from that prone position.
Yeah, well, I mean, odds are we were the one on top doing the fucking rock bashing.
So, somehow or another, the genetics got here.
You didn't just hang out and get by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was a rougher world.
You contributed.
And I think that, that's why I think also, like, especially, like, our military and shit, and even our fighters and even our fucking, like, football players, athletes, like, there's a reason why they're getting paid. Mm-hmm. They're doing a fucking gladiatorial type thing, and it's a type of combat,
Yeah, simulated combat. I mean, that's the idea behind the Olympics. That's kind of how it all started. Hey, let's stop killing each other. Let's just go compete. See who's the best.
Yeah,
give each other some rewards.
Yeah, it's competition.
It's in us. Mm-hmm. It's in us.
Yeah.
I mean, I love competition.
Yeah, how about fucking Gotti Ward, bro? Check out those fights. If you guys haven't seen those, do yourself a favor.
Can you imagine?
You'll become a fan of both of those.
Can you imagine not knowing Gotti Ward round 9?
I've watched those many times. And that's even like I think the first round of the Chandler Poirier fight seemed
sick.
Like a 15-minute fight.
Yeah.
Even though it was just a 5-minute round, it seemed like a 15-minute round.
Hearns.
Hagler Hearns. That's a 3-round fight. That seems like fucking hour. Like
still talking about it.
That's just beautiful, bro. Like I love that shit.
That's
obviously I'm I do what I do, but yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing.
So because
it's an expression of what's inside of us. You know what I mean? Like when we're talking about hearing the national anthem and thinking back and taking pride in that shit and the people who did that. That's us being able to express that. You're putting your balls, your heart, and your fucking body on the line, and you know what I mean? Like Gotti Ward, that's heart. That's heart. That's like what humans are capable of. Like that's my type of art there. That's a beautiful expression.
Yeah, and that's a situation of guys literally laying it all out on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
Yeah, I hear a lot of fighters talking about with my shield or on it, and I see them not live up to that shit. I see them fucking quit, and because it's easy to, you can, but that's something I'm proud of. Like I'll not me. You know what I mean? If I busted my hand, I'm not and you see a lot of guys. Most guys don't fucking quit. You know what I mean? I'm going to keep throwing that motherfucker. I'm going to break it off on someone's head. I'm going to break it worse,
Is that will something that you can train, or is that will inside you? Is that...
Probably both.
Yeah.
Probably both, but it's mental toughness. It's always something that can be brought up. It's just there's something about really digging deep. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Even when it's uncomfortable, just there's plenty of things. Anybody's if you're doing a job, sitting at a computer, it's going to get uncomfortable at times.
There has
But you
to
gotta
be.
keep. You could easily just go and start solitairing, or you could fucking press on.
There has to be a certain level of self-reliance in there too, and belief. Because like, if you really thought you were gonna die, it would be almost impossible for you to turn off that self-preservation gene. There has to be something inside of you that says, I can still win this. I can still do this. There has to be this idea that even though the odds may be against you, Arturo Gatti thought he was going to still win that fight. He didn't think he was going to die. That's that type of self-reliance, that type of self-belief.
Hey, he wouldn't let himself die.
Yeah. Well, it can be often misconstrued as cockiness or arrogance.
Someone bashed him with a blunt object in Brazil.
I know.
And it got marked as suicide.
Suicide.
Such a terrible way for such a great man to go out,
And he was hit with a hammer. So the idea, the official story is he suicided himself with a hammer.
I don't know what they said he suicided himself with. I think there might have been I don't know, but yeah, there was blunt force.
Ooh.
And somehow it got marked as a suicide. I think it was some corruption.
That's terrible.
Yeah, real sad. Sad ending. But in his honor, check out that
that whole trilogy.
Fights, man. Any of that, you won't regret it.
And then we got a couple big ones coming up. Talk about Chandler. I think Chandler McGregor is going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be
Chandler McGregor is going to be great. You got Jones and Gall going to be great. I mean, the UFC fight. I think. Look, fighters, they used to say styles make fights. I think fighters make fights, man. Everybody needs that opponent. Every hero needs that villain. Yeah. Everybody needs that, that 2-3 fight trilogy. Holyfield needed a Tyson and a Bo, and there's a story there.
Yeah.
There's a story there. And I don't know, the comebacks and stuff.
You were asking me about that too, about why aren't there as many trilogies and stuff in MMA? And there's some mostly at the top in the title area. We'll probably see a Volk Makhachev too.
Okay.
But man, I'll tell you, anytime I lost a fight, I wanted to do a rematch later that day. I would be asking the promoter, could we run it back?
Let's
and
run
then
it
they
back.
kind of had to tell me, they were like, yeah, it doesn't really it doesn't really work like that. It's got, you know what I mean? Especially when you're on the come up still, it's one guy goes up the ladder, one guy goes down the ladder, and then you fight your way back up.
So then, the guy
maybe it's back at the top.
So then you become the biggest fan of the guy that beats you. Go, get up.
Little bit.
Get up there, bro.
Little bit.
Yeah, I love this sport, but it is harder to create that story and that narrative in MMA. I feel like it's harder to the comeback and that will, and as great as Joe Rogan is, I mean, listening to Jim Lampley talk about that stuff was oh man, this is epic.
Yeah. I got a question from Ricky Ricardo. He says he's got a torn rotator cuff. Do I know any exercises you could do to help this, or am I just fucked until I get surgery? Yeah, I know some exercises, but I don't know your particular condition, how torn that shit is. I would try and do as much as you can to avoid surgery. Shoulder surgery is tough. But there's a lot of stuff. You got to get with a PT or a good doc, or find someone at a gym who's knowledgeable. And there's stuff you can do, but little band stuff to maybe strengthen around the area. But I don't know what you do. But yeah, I would try and avoid surgery if you can. But there is a certain point, even myself, I've avoided surgery for my whole career. I got my first surgery 7 weeks ago because it was there. I knew it was past a certain point, But for the most part, rule of thumb, trying to avoid surgery. Doctors will always quickly tell you to get surgery because that's how they get paid. But yeah, there's other ways you could fix shit.
Sure. It depends on what you do for a living and stuff like that.
How to pay that one forward before we get out of here.
If you've got insurance and workers' comp, maybe get cut.
Maybe.
Yeah, but
still, I'm saying even if that's the case, you still might come back worse.
Always get multiple opinions.
Yeah,
always
multiple opinions, great.
Always.
That's a great opinion.
We got any others before we get out of here?
Ben, anything else, bro?
I am popping hard in this mic.
I know.
This is a pretty big question, so I don't know. I know we got someone coming in, but I got a question for you. What's the biggest lie of World War II history? Boom.
biggest lie of World War II history.
Yep.
Probably happened after World War II when McCarthy claimed that there were communists in Roosevelt's cabinet, and there actually were. But McCarthy went so crazy that nobody wanted to listen to him, and you know the McCarthyism became this witch hunt. But he was right in the beginning. You know, Stalin sympathetic communists had infiltrated the cabinet of the presidency. Yeah, that's probably what I would consider the biggest lie.
That's insane. I had no idea. I didn't know that.
Hey, Good M Ben. Since you're our producer down here, by the way, do you like your nickname, Good M Ben?
I actually love it.
Guy's got great energy.
Good M
I love
Ben.
his fucking energy. But do you have a compliment for me?
Compliment for you?
Yeah. Omri had one.
Bad M Ben.
Gerard, you can go. You
Bad
can
M
go,
Ben.
first. I just figure with all that good energy, you know what I mean?
My
I can't
compliment
miss
to
my
you
compliment.
dude, I'm so happy that you're up on your feet walking, man.
Fuck yeah,
You
I've been
know-
up on my feet since I walked out
I
of the hospital, baby.
I know you, but I'm just like so good to have you in the studio. You came in here and your just energy was there. It matched mine. I love that. So
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Real recognize real, dog.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And G, finish us off on a nice compliment for me, please.
I will tell you, Mickey, the strength it takes for you to wear an Amari Stoudemire jersey after he got arrested
Number
for
one,
beating
baby.
his daughter is
For what?
Oh yeah, he beat his daughter, got arrested for it. But the
Thanks
strength
for
it
ruining
takes,
my fucking shirt.
but the strength it takes now. Mickey G, I tell you what, man. It's good to see. Not only that, but you look. I told you in the elevator. Since you got your surgery, you look taller, bro. You
Can
maybe
you believe it?
maybe you got a little second puberty going on here. You're
I
gonna
think so.
be at
My
6'7"?
grandma says I look bigger every time she sees me. So
You gonna be
she's shrinking a little too.
6'7", 225.
Yeah, one of these days, bro. I'll
Yeah.
be bumping up to middleweight one of these days.
What I want to know is what's next for the Mick. Are you feeling like you got?
Well, I gotta take it incrementally. I like chomping at the bit up in the Kill Cliff room, watching everyone train. First day was great, seeing everybody back watching sparring. It's getting a little painful watching everyone having to like.
Sure.
I'm watching all my friends playing, having fun, getting it on. I don't get to so.
Well, you said,
but I'll be back in probably like a month full on. Like now, I started PT today. You know what I mean? I started incrementally increasing, doing weights and shit like that, and then I'll get back mixing it up. I bet I'm fighting this summer.
So, this isn't a compliment. This is just an observation. But in that room full of killers, man, so many guys that are UFC legends. If you walk in there, you are. Everybody got off the mat to come see you, and then when we did the appearance with Dada 5000, he was excited to see you. It's a real recognized, real type of situation. You walked in, man, and it was like Elvis was in the building. So, I think everybody is really excited that you're back, and I think everybody's really excited to see what's next for you, man.
Fucking A.
And with
Amen,
that,
brother.
ladies and gentlemen, this
Thanks,
has
guys.
been-
Thanks for hitting. I needed a
No, that's not service. That's for real. I saw that and I was like, wow, everybody's coming off the mat to see this guy. That's legit. All right, everybody, this has been Slick and Thick. This is Gerard Michaels with the man himself, Mickey Gall, to my left. Appreciate y'all.
This
Check
has
us
been
out.
the Thick and Thick podcast. I got my little slickness in at the end, though.
Check us out on Gas Digital Network every Monday and Friday, 1 to 5, 1 to 3. We'll check you out next time. Take care.
Peace,
Bye.
y'all.